My name is Kevin Kozak. I've been with the ASO since 1981 as second horn. There are a couple instances I remember where it was obviously the audience was 100% with us, and so it was a great performance and super exciting and powerful and moving and so forth, but you knew you had the audience hanging on every note. We were doing the Prokofiev Romeo and Juliet suite, and it was the death of Tybalt, and that's a huge, just, really powerful, loud, searing kind of a passage. And when we ended it, one of the members of the audience that was somewhat nearby, maybe in the choral balcony or whatever, said, "Wow." And I really cherished that moment. And then another performance I was thinking about is a number of years ago, Justin Brown doing Mahler 9. And it was the whole performance was a deeply moving performance. But Mahler 9 ends very quietly and very profoundly and quite wistfully and sadly. And the conductors will often, they'll suspend their arms. They won't drop their arms because that means it's not over yet, that the silence at the end of that music is part of the music and part of the power. But at the end of that Mahler 9, he kept his arms, it seemed like minutes. It was probably 20 or 30 seconds. And it was dead silence in the hall. Every member of the orchestra and the conductor and the audience and everybody experienced that together. And that was, those are two really memorable performances in my mind. I think a lot of times when we're talking about the role that an orchestra has in a community is so the community can, when businesses are moving into the community or people are moving in and say, well, we have a fine professional orchestra. And that's all well and good, but I don't think that's the mission of the orchestra. I think the mission is what I just spoke about, is that in those performances that these members of our community with whom we have a relationship, that to give them an experience of something that you cannot replicate by watching it on screen, you cannot replicate by listening to a recording of it. There's something absolutely special, something so dynamic and so unique. I bet in those two performances I cited, the people who were there still remember it because there was just something that was very powerful and unique, and that is our mission, to do that for your community. I think, first of all, the term is a little bit problematic. We use it as a generic term. The classical period is one period of music, but also classical means something in not just in music, but classical literature, classical architecture. It's kind of proved its worth by surviving over a lot of time. We play almost 400 years worth of music, and that's amazing. That how much culture has changed, how much the world has changed, but still there's an interest in that music because that music, it's the great music that survives, and the great music still miraculously ends up being relevant to us today, just as it was hundreds of years ago, because the essence of what makes a human being, that hasn't changed. What makes somebody essentially human is what it always was. I think what we do, music, by its very nature, is communication. And what we're doing is we're communicating with other human beings, and we're communicating with sort of an extended family, our community. So that's going to be different when you have visiting orchestras, and they can be really fine orchestras that are coming in to play concerts or whatever in any city. It's going to be a different experience than when it's your town. We're part of the community. We live in this community. We are part of it. We're playing for our community. And we cherish every member of that audience because they're part of this partnership. They're part of this communication. It's a two-way relationship because we are aware and feed off of the reaction an audience gives us. Was there something special? Was there something that really clicked? We can feel it. So, our audience is deeply appreciated and deeply necessary for us, for our survival and for our motivation. That in COVID, so many of us have spent time alone in our houses practicing and working so hard to try to keep our skills going. but we're alone. And man, if you ever had any doubt of the value of live performance, you know, there's nothing like it, that we need that relationship. And our community needs live music because there's nothing that can equal it, nothing that can replace it.